La France, 1789. A country which had been one of the leading powers in Europe faced domestic turmoil. The 7 Years' War in support for the American revolt against Britain deepened the financial debt of France. Yet the debt was not overly large or disproportionate compared to other European powers. France's problem lay with the ability to tax its people. In essence, France was a rich nation with an impoverished government. Poverty and hunger were rampant in the country, and the time was ripe for revolt.
Oh, bonjour, Monsieur Necker.
Oh, bonjour, mon roi. Comment allez-vous?
Pas bon. Asseyez-vous, s'il vous plaît.
Voulez-vous du fromage?
No.
Du pain?
No.
Un paysan?
No, j'ai déjà 3 paysans.
Alors, j'ai fini mon reportage sur l'économie et, à mon avis, il n'y a pas de problème.
Vraiment?
Mais oui, si vous ne tenez pas compte des dépenses pour la révolution américaine, il n'y a pas de problème. Le budget sera en surplus.
Ah, d'accord. Alors, tu ne penses pas que je dois taxer les gens?
Pas du tout.
Necker's report made it difficult for the government to claim a need to raise taxes. Charles-Alexandre de Calonne replaced Necker as a Minister of Finance, but his introduction of a new land tax that all landowners would pay generated discontent with the nobility. He was soon replaced by Etienne Charles Loménie de Brienne, who was equally unsuccessful in helping France's economy. Ultimately, the nobility claimed that only the Estates General could institute new taxes. The Estates General hadn't been in operation since 1614.
Faites attention. Qui est ici?
Je suis ici et Dieu aussi.
Je suis présente. Mais vous me détestez.
Bien. Comment allons-nous voter dans les États généraux? Je pense que chaque État a droit d'un vote.
Je conteste cette idée. Le 3e État a droit de beaucoup de votes et il représente tous les roturiers. Mais vous ne nous respectez pas.
Comment osez-vous? Je suis né noble et j'ai beaucoup d'influence et d'argent. Si je voulais, je pourrais.
Oui. Je sais.
Êtes-vous sûr? Oh mon Dieu.
Ils entendent vos prières.
Look, we can't afford to do this anymore. I've just been told that we don't have enough money for our language or our accents, and these subtitles are killing the national debt. Anyway, according to the Royal Council, the third estate will be allowed twice as many votes as the nobles or the clergy. So, we'll just call it doubling the third.
Still, the Third Estate felt that their needs were not being addressed. They broke away and formed the National Assembly on June 17, 1789. When Louis XVI closed the room where the National Assembly usually met, the members of the National Assembly moved the meeting to an indoor tennis court where members took an oath to continue to sit until they gave France a constitution.
We've gathered to give the people what they want, a new constitution with a government whose powers are granted to it by the people.
Hallelujah!
We won't be subjects of this king any longer. It's time for change. It's time for revolt. It's time for...
Our portrait!
Bonjour, David. Now everybody settle down and hold still. I want this to look good in years to come.
Come on, guys, line up.
What's the most ridiculous pose we can think of?
Bread, the staple of the poor, had reached record high prices and produced riots.
We want bread! We want bread! We want bread! We want bread!
We want bread!
We want bread! We want bread! We want bread!
Shortly after, the revolution began on July 14, 1789, with the storming of the Bastille.
In the trying to spawn the Bastille.
Crowds of Parisians marched to the Bastille to get weapons for the militia. The militia then became known as the National Guard and chose the Marquis de Lafayette to lead it. Out of this, the revolutionary tricolor flag of France came to be. Later on, the National Assembly issued the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen on August 27, 1789, which stated that all men were born and remained free and equal in rights. The National Assembly, which by this time was calling itself the National Constituent Assembly, changed much of France. France was now governed by a constitutional monarchy. Départements replaced provinces, workers' organizations were forbidden, and church lands were confiscated. On June 20, 1791, Louis XVI and his family tried to leave France, but they were caught in Varennes and forced to return. The most influential group in the National Assembly was the Jacobins, and a group of Jacobins called the Girondists led the National Assembly up until this point. However, the executions of Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette shifted power to the Montagne Jacobins. Outside of France, the most interesting reaction to the French Revolution can be seen by Edmund Burke, the father of conservatism.
Burke was a fascinating individual. He was a British statesman, and he believed that the new government of France ignored the complexities of social relations and history. Also, he predicted that the situation in France would become worse. With inexperienced political leaders in power, he predicted the deaths of both Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, and that the revolution would end in military despotism.
France will experience trouble, and two of her own will be sacrificed for the common good.
Burke's later statement revealed the rise of Napoleon to power.
As the country burns in hostility, one among the people will rise above the flames to quench the fire.
Perhaps the most terrible event of the French Revolution could be described as a reign of terror from 1793 to 1795. The central figure of it all was Maximilien de Robespierre. Robespierre became the head of the Committee of Public Safety, which carried out the executive duties of the government. As European nations waged war against revolutionary France, fear of losing the new liberties that had been established drove the Committee and the French toward extreme measures.
Okay, we, the Committee of Public Safety, are in agreement that everyone must wear helmets at all times as a way to increase safety. Robespierre, what do you think of that?
We must save the revolution from enemies abroad and at home. The levy en masse was instituted as a way to protect France from foreign enemies. Now we must purge dissidents from within our own borders. We need a republic of virtue where the sacrifice of one's interests for the good of the state is the law of the land. As a part of the republic of virtue, no one shall wear wigs and streets will be renamed with revolutionary terms. Also, we shall issue the law of 22 prairial to convict suspects without hearing evidence against them.
Wonderful. I hear the convention has already replaced the old calendar with a new revolutionary one, that Notre Dame shall be called the Temple of Reason, and that they have set about to de-Christianize France.
But before long, Robespierre had gone too far. He replaced worship of reason with the cult of the Supreme Being, which reflected Rousseau's idea of a civic religion. Finally, he brought his own demise by accusing members of the government of conspiring against the revolution.
The enemy is among us and will rise against us. We must purge France from the enemy. Which one of you is harboring an evil soul? I bet it was you, Abigail Williams.
Me? Poor Abigail Williams? But I'm a good girl. It was Tituba. Tituba made me do it. She made me drink chicken blood.
What? I don't compact with no devil. I don't make no kids drink no chicken blood.
I saw her with her broomstick flying on the night to meet her master. I saw Tituba with the devil.
I saw Goody Proctor with the devil.
I saw Goody Goo with the devil.
I saw Martha Bellis with the devil.
Well, let's at least end this meeting on a high note.
Robespierre's mission against domestic enemies became something like a witch hunt. On July 27, 1795, when Robespierre was about to give a speech, members of the convention denounced him and had him arrested and executed the next day. The Reign of Terror had ended, and it was followed by the Thermidorian reaction. The Girondists took control of the government again, and the Jacobin party was closed. Former Jacobins and creators of the Terror were executed in what became known as the White Terror. Also, the worship of Christianity was restored. In time, the Directory was created, which created a republic. However, the French Revolution came to a grinding halt with the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte through a coup on November 10, 1799.